Day one, here we are. The first thing you have to do, probably the most important step to being successful online, is to find yourself a good niche. When I say that you open up the whole world to be your potential client, that is true. The downside is that you open up the whole world to be your competition as well. So you can have a real tough time if you're going for weight loss, for example. Those people looking for weight loss are going to go for Weight Watchers. They're going to go for Jillian Michaels online. They're going to go for a name, someone they know, someone who's been out there for a long time. So it's a very tough one to crack. Simple ways to find a good niche for you are, one, you think of something that you really enjoy doing that requires activity. So if you're particularly a lover of football, for example, or as the Americans call it, soccer, you can target a little bit of football players. However, that is probably not a tight enough niche. What you want to kind of aim at is think about your position in football. So if you're a central midfielder, for example, you can specifically target central midfielders in football. You can specifically design your programs for central midfielders in football, working out the energy systems that is required for that particular skill in that particular sport. Now, it doesn't have to be football, it doesn't have to be central midfielders, but an activity that you know about, that you enjoy, and that requires a specific level of fitness can be a fantastic way to find a niche. Once you've found your niche, it's much, much easier to find your target market, to actually appeal to them. So think about it. It's so much easier to write programs and to write sales copy working with central midfielders in football than it is simply weight loss like the rest of the world. You just get swallowed up. You might be the only one that is operating in your particular niche. That means you can get to the top of Google easily. It means when you do Facebook adverts, there's no real competition, so you get really cheap clicks. It means when you do YouTube videos, we'll go into all this stuff as we go along. Again, there's no competition, so there's people searching for your niche, but you're going to be at the top. So it's much, much easier to hit your audience. The great thing with online is you don't have to worry that there's not many central midfielders in football in your local town, because you're not restricted by your local town. So while a proper niche in your local town might be very, very restrictive, there might just be 2 or 3 people like that. In the whole world, you know that there's hundreds of thousands, even millions. So you don't have to worry about targeting down too narrow. It is quite important to do it though. Now, another way to find a good niche, if you don't have a particular activity that you really want to train people for, is to think about your ideal client, perhaps your perfect client, your best client that you train at the moment. What are they like? What do they do? What drives them? What are their goals? Really think about and dig into what makes them tick and what makes them a particularly special client. Then think a little bit more. What I'm going to do is include in the documents an empathy map where you can basically write down every little thought, every little feeling that they might have. Really try and get to know that particular person. You can even use things like Facebook Insights, which we will go into at a later date, just to delve a little bit deeper into what they like, what pages they're following, etc. Once you get to know this person, they can be your niche, they can be your avatar, and then you focus down your attentions, your marketing work, your programming on writing the correct message for them. And that is how you can really stand out online rather than to blend in with everyone else that's trying to do the same thing. Those are probably the 2 best ways to work out a niche. If you still struggle to think of the people that you really want to train, you can think of yourself. You can train people just like yourself. and it's very easy to know you. So again, that's a very easy one to nail down and to get targeted, but think several layers. Going back to the football example, rather than just a footballer, we're thinking about a central midfielder in football, so it is quite specific. This is important online. This step is the one to really get right, to sit down, have a think, work out who you really want to train, and then we can focus on targeting your message towards them. I promise you, if you don't do this, if you go for weight loss, if you go for fat loss, if you go for general fitness, the chances are you'll get swallowed up and you will waste your time, waste your money on advertising and get nowhere. Okay, so this is the first step and probably the most important one to being successful as a trainer online, as opposed to a trainer in a gym or face-to-face out in the world. Okay, so if you need the empathy map, go and have a look at the documents. If not, get thinking about who your ideal client is, what type of person you want to train, what type of person you will best train, nail it down and start thinking about how you communicate with that person. So that's task for today, simply to target down who you want to train and think about the message that you need to communicate with them. Alright, see you tomorrow.